Welcome back to More Law on Fox 19, your legal questions live, with local broadcaster and award-winning reporter Deb Haas and Cincinnati personal injury attorney Don Moore, recognized by Ohio super lawyers. More answers, more help, more law on Fox 19.
Welcome back. We are taking any legal question today here on More Law. With me, of course, Don Moore, and our guest today, Margo Grubbs. Thanks for being here.
Not a problem. I really appreciate this.
Well, thank you. And now, Don, you wanted to talk about something that, unfortunately, many families could be dealing with this time of the year. It's prom season, kids are out, and you have a case where it really turned tragic.
Well, I do. I brought a picture. This is an old case. This was from a number of years ago, and if they can pull the picture up, we'll show it. This is a case where some kids actually were underage, and an adult establishment served them underage. They had been drinking. They went out racing, goofing around like kids do. This is a case where three people were in the car. One did not have a seatbelt on. Two did. Two survived. One didn't. The one without the seatbelt didn't survive. Old story, and a very, very sad story. And I think that basically it heads up the wariness we have to have now, especially this time of year when the kids are getting out of school, they're having fun, they're probably not using the judgment sometimes that they should. Moms and dads, keep an eye on your kids, and reinforce the seatbelt thing, all the other things we talk about so much that has to do with traffic safety, underage drinking. That one picture taken by the Highway Patrol several years ago tells a big story.
It's just tragic, and it can happen in an instant.
It can, and it makes big ramifications legally, and of course that's why it's on this show.
Right. Okay. Well, we have another caller now. We have Donna in Cincinnati. Donna, you have a situation where your son is an adult now, but his father never paid child support. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I can start here. I haven't received the child support, but one thing, I've never been married to him, but my son is now 35. Well, he'll be 35 this summer, and I just found out that about 5-6 years ago, a brother of his actually came to my house, and I didn't realize what the conversation would be about, and he told me that he wanted to see his son, and now he's living in Las Vegas, but now he told me he's now on disability. And I just wonder why, because I do know that a relative had told me that there was a similar case she had where her son turned 20. I think he's, after 9 years, after your son turns 27, that there's nothing more that the authorities could do about trying to collect child support. And this man just moved from state to state since my son, real young back then, was living with me. He just kept moving around until finally I caught up with through his brother that he is living in Las Vegas on disability. Why cannot the authorities?
Margo, that's not an unusual scenario, is it?
That is not an unusual scenario. Unfortunately, as when we opened the show, Don, remember we talked about statute of limitations issues. And the statute of limitations issues would play a pertinent part in whether or not there could be a claim made against the father at this point. There are criminal penalties for not paying child support, and there are also civil penalties. And the problem that you have with child support issues is that you need to have a determination that a father is obligated to pay for a specific child, which would set you back for paternity judgments. So unless there's been a legal declaration of paternity, there's no obligation that attaches under the law.
It's so complicated. I would imagine that, because you just have she can't catch up with him over all those years.
I'd say it's one of those deadbeat dad situations, yes.
Okay. We have another call now. Let's see. We have Don in Middletown. Don, I believe you have a question about carrying guns without a permit. Is that right?
Yes. I'm just wondering if you have to have a license to carry a gun on your hip, as long as it's out in plain view of everyone, as long as everybody can see it.
Don, that's a big controversial issue and has been for a long time. As you know, there is a CCW law in Ohio now, and you can get a license if you qualify and you go through the right steps. That will eliminate the problem. If it's open and obvious, then it's not concealed, but you may be violating other laws. It's something you really have to be careful about and think twice about. You become a target of attention. When you become a target of attention by law enforcement, they will find a way to make you not a threat. And so my suggestion would be get a CCW permit. To answer your question point blank, can you carry a gun on your hip in the open? It's not entirely clear. If it's unloaded, Probably, if it's loaded, there's local ordinances, there's all kinds of other issues that complicate it, and if it's in a car, there's real specific regulations on that, generally not in loaded condition.
Okay. We have another caller now. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but you're in Cincinnati, and your daughter's in the hospital. It's Barbara, I believe.
Yes. She's not in the hospital. She passed.
I'm sorry.
And she was in the hospital. She went in like November the 8th to get her Foley bag fixed for her urine because it kept leaking, wetting up her clothes. She was a paraplegic for 9 years. She was full of life, and she didn't let being in that chair get her down or nothing. So while she was in the hospital, her dad was up there visiting her one day, and he had brought her a sandwich, and she said she didn't want to eat nothing, Dad, because they had that poop in her throat. So the nurse came in there while he was there and said, "It's time for your meds." Gave her a pill. It went down her windpipe, choked her. It took them 6 minutes to revive her. And she was already born with one kidney. And she had a bed sore at the time, but that wasn't when she went in there because she was due to get released the next day.
So just so I understand, your question is there any recourse for you since she passed away?
Well, when I signed for her to get an autopsy, they didn't do an interior autopsy. I never heard of doing just an exterior autopsy. And I'm saying that she passed away because she choked on the pill. And it took them over 3.5 months before they sent us any results, and they still ain't got nothing on there. They trying to say she caught some kind of infection and died.
Don, what would you suggest for Barbara?
Well, Barbara, what you're talking about is a potential medical malpractice claim. The first thing you need to know, if this is an Ohio case, and I didn't catch whether in the beginning whether it was Ohio or which state it was, but frankly whether it's Ohio or Kentucky, you got 1 year. So if it's been more than 1 year, time's up. If it's less than 1 year, sometimes you can extend it a little bit. That's technical. That's not really what you called about, but it's important that you know whether your case is still viable or not. 2, you have to be able to show that they did something wrong. Because she got a pill caught in her throat, if she normally took pills, they didn't do anything wrong, there's no negligence, then there's no malpractice. There has to be negligence in order for there to be a case. If you find that there has been a case because something they did was wrong, then you can look into it and see what harm was caused by that. Malpractice cases are tough. You also mentioned the business about the autopsy. They don't have to do one at all. They're not required to do an autopsy. If you want an autopsy done and you want to specify how it's done, then you can pay for it and do it. So that's all the time we have for right now, but I hope that helps, Barbara.
Again, Barbara, we are very sorry for your loss. We will be right back taking your legal questions. Anything you want to ask us, go ahead. We'll be right back. The Kentucky and Ohio Bar require we give the addresses of the attorneys on the show. So for today, we have Margo Grubbs on West Pike Street in Covington and Don Moore, Nimitzview Drive in Cincinnati. Go to fox19.com, click on More Law. That is all the time we have for today.
Next week, Dad is going to be here on injuries.
All about injuries.
That'll
We'll see
be
you next
fun.
Monday morning. Thank you,
And
Margo.
thank you so much.